I lived two lives at the same time, and I told myself I was managing it. I told myself I was protecting everyone. What I was really doing was destroying things slowly, quietly, and very thoroughly. I'm 72 years old, and I need to say something I spent most of my life hiding. I don't have much time left, and I don't want to carry this to the end without finally saying it out loud. Not to be forgiven, not to be understood, just to be honest, for once in my life. I live alone now. The house is smaller than the ones I used to move between. In the evenings, I sit by the window and watch the light fade. That's when the memories come back. Not the good ones first, the moments I avoided, the lies I rehearsed so often they stopped feeling like lies, the names I learned to say without hesitation, depending on where I was. For a long time, I thought silence was my shield. If I didn't talk about it, if I kept everything neatly separated, no one would get hurt. That was the story I told myself. It was easier than admitting I was afraid of being alone, afraid of choosing, afraid of being seen for who I really was. I didn't wake up one day and decide to live a double life. That's important to understand. It happened slowly, the way most damage does. One decision that felt manageable, one omission that felt harmless, one moment where I chose comfort over honesty and told myself I'd fix it later. In my 30s, I was already married. We had children, a home that looked steady from the outside. I worked long hours, which made my absences easy to explain. I was tired all the time, but I blamed work. Everyone did back then. No one asked too many questions if you looked busy and responsible. The second woman came into my life quietly. A conversation that lasted too long. A shared feeling of being unseen. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it wasn't real. I told myself a lot of things. What I didn't tell anyone was the truth. At first, it felt like balance. I convinced myself I was giving each life what it needed. I had rules. I told myself rules made it safe. Certain days for certain places. Certain words I never crossed. I thought I was in control. But living two lives doesn't make you twice as full. It splits you in half. I was always tired, but not the kind of tired sleep fixes. I was always listening, always calculating, making sure I remembered which stories I'd told where, making sure I didn't say the wrong name in the wrong house. The stress became part of my body. Tight shoulders, a constant knot in my stomach. I told myself this was just the price of responsibility. The children noticed before anyone else did. Children always do. They notice when a parent is present but not really there, when answers are short, when affection feels distracted. I missed birthdays, school events, ordinary evenings that mattered more than I understood at the time. When I was there, my mind was often somewhere else, preparing for the next lie. I justified it by telling myself I was providing, that I was doing my duty, that children don't need to know everything. What I didn't see was how confusion settles into them quietly, how it teaches them not to ask questions, how it teaches them that love comes with absence, The second family had children too, and the guilt doubled. I told myself I was giving them something, stability, attention, but attention divided is never whole. I was never fully present anywhere. I was always leaving, even when I stayed. Years went by like that. Decades, really. People around me aged. Children grew into adults. I stayed in motion, always one step ahead of being found out. I thought if I could just keep everything running smoothly, no one would get hurt. That was the lie I lived inside. The stress didn't just live in my mind, it wore my body down. I aged faster than I should have. I snapped at small things. I avoided mirrors. I avoided conversations that went too deep. Silence became my refuge, because silence doesn't ask follow-up questions. The turning point didn't come with shouting or exposure. It came with illness. My health began to fail in ways I couldn't hide. Hospital visits forced questions. Paperwork forced names into the same space. I watched confusion spread across faces I loved, faces I had sworn I was protecting. There is no gentle way for children to learn that their father was living another life. No careful phrasing that makes it hurt less. I saw something break in them that day. Not loudly, quietly. Trust doesn't shatter like glass. It collapses inward. Some of them stopped speaking to me altogether. Others tried, but something was gone. Conversations became careful, distant. I had taught them, without meaning to, that the truth could disappear for years and reappear only when it was unavoidable. Both women were hurt in ways I can't fully describe, not just by the betrayal, but by the time stolen from them, years they spent believing in something incomplete. I watched the realization settle into them, and I understood then that silence doesn't soften pain, it sharpens it. After everything came out, there was no dramatic ending, just distance, separation, long stretches of quiet that felt different from the quiet I used to hide in. This quiet was earned. It was heavy. Now, at 89, I live with the consequences of every delayed truth. My children visit less than I wish they would. When they do, there's politeness, care, but not the ease we could have had. I see it in the way they watch me, as if parts of me are still unknown. What can't be fixed weighs on me the most. I can't give them back the sense of safety I took. I can't undo the lessons they learned about love and secrecy. I can't explain my way out of years of deception. Some things, once broken, don't return to their original shape. I want to speak directly to you now, not as someone with authority, but as someone who waited too long. If you're hiding parts of your life because you think honesty would cause pain, understand this. Delay doesn't erase harm. It compounds it. The longer you wait, the heavier the truth becomes when it finally arrives. Silence feels easier today, but it grows interest. I stayed silent because I was afraid of losing people. In the end, silence is exactly what cost me closeness, not all at once, over time. I don't believe people are only one thing. I wasn't a monster. I loved. I worked. I tried, in my own broken way, to do right by everyone. But good intentions don't cancel out damage, especially when children are watching and learning what love looks like. I have moments of gratitude, dude. I'm alive. I remember laughter. I remember holding my children when they were small. But those memories now sit beside others, and they don't cancel each other out. Life doesn't edit itself that way. The days are shorter now. My body reminds me of that. I don't know how many more mornings I'll sit at this table with cold coffee and too much time to think. What I know is this: the truth doesn't get kinder with age. It just waits. If this story feels heavy, that's because it is. I'm not asking you to judge me. I've done enough of that myself. I'm saying this because somewhere, someone is telling themselves they'll speak later. That later is safer, kinder, more convenient. Later is not guaranteed. I'm 89 years old. I lived 2 lives in silence, and it cost more than I ever admitted while I was living it. This is me finally telling the truth,
not because it fixes anything, but because pretending never did.